Good afternoon. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 55. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man?
A lot. How are you? We got the muster coming up next week.
We do, yeah, which I'm super pumped about because
go.
I'm attending again.
Let's go, man.
Yep.
Come on.
I'm trying to see whether or not we can maybe get the first run of some JP Dinnell merch.
Ooh.
Yeah, to see, but no promises.
No promises.
I might have I might have an 8.5 by 11 one sheet of paper with a printout of what it'll look like. So if you want to order one and you're at the muster, you can come and I'll put a tally mark on there so we know how many to order.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. We'll we'll have that merch. You and I just figure out what designs we want and like, and Josh and I can start getting after that, man.
Cranking some stuff out. Yeah. And muster attendees will likely get to see a beard-free me.
Dude, that's crazy.
So weird.
That's awesome. Well, it's because, everyone's donated to help support Mama Lee and her foundation, and obviously massive support from Jonathan and Ann Montgomery with First in Nutrition.
Yeah. It's
been awesome. Just the amount of support they have for Echelon Front events and Mama Lee, and now supporting this podcast. It's been awesome.
They're super
I got signed up with them 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah?
Been on that program, the First in Nutrition program, and it's been awesome. I noticed a big difference within 2 weeks of how I feel, the weight like dropping off quick.
Really?
It's just,
Nice.
Bro, when I've been floating around the 235 range.
I've heard about this.
I've just been there. That's why I was there on the backpacking trip. And,
right.
I was down a little bit before, and then pop back up, and then down after, and then back up. But
they're never going to keep you down.
Yeah. And I was just like consistently in that 235 range, and I would like float up to 238, 240-ish, and I'm like, man, this is just too heavy. Clearly, that's way too heavy. And I know what it is. I wasn't being disciplined with my diet, and my workouts weren't as hard as they needed to be, but the big thing was the diet, because even though my workouts were decent and I was running and jiu-jitsu and everything else, like the weight was just staying where it's at. And when you're trying to run to prepare for a half marathon virtual run, and that's the other thing I want to talk about, the to honor those run, it's a run, not a race. And people, I think we actually don't have as many people as we thought signed up for it, because I think the biggest barrier is people think it's a race.
It is not.
It's a virtual run. Like, you do what you want at your pace, however. So anyways, just.
If it was a race, I would be out.
Well, yeah. And it's just.
Especially if it was a swimming race.
But, the nice thing about getting the diet dialed back in with the First in Nutrition team, and Jonathan's so awesome. He goes, these things. Yeah. You know how to do all these things. And I'm like giving him all my numbers and everything. He's like, dude, this is awesome. Protein heavy, do these things, stay within. And like last night, I was 1 calorie over my limit.
How dare you?
But, I know how to dial that in. I can dial it back in. But because I've been doing that and sticking to what they want us to do. Now, there's one day I was way over. Sure. It was a travel day. I went up to Seattle with the FTX team, went out to a nice FTX dinner, seafood up in Seattle. Like, I overate. But the next day I felt like crap. And I'm like, I don't need to be doing this. And I was frustrated with myself. One of the things that I like that First in Nutrition does for accountability is you weigh yourself every day to start to learn how your body reacts to different things. And it's a good eye opener of hey, if you eat like an a-hole the day before, and your body's going to hold on to it, and the next day you're going to know it. Not only are you going to feel bad, but you're going to see it. So anyways, started at 238. I think it was 238, 239. I'll have to look back at the pictures. But I remember it was not where I wanted to be. And it was pretty cool yesterday, and today it was down to a good number, which I'm hoping for the muster to get below another number I have in my mind. But what do you think I woke up this morning to?
You've been around 240?
Yes.
Let's go 228.
221.
Whoa.
This morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, that is peeling him off.
Yeah. 221 this morning.
Dang.
Hoping by the muster next week
come
to
right
be
off your calves?
Nope. Calves got bigger and stronger. So it's been great to be just back into that mode again. tracking what I'm eating, just being smart. And it just really makes you think about what you're going to eat. Like yesterday I was traveling and, trying to find some food, and it was just like, you're looking at all the different options. And before I order anything, I'm in MyFitnessPal, putting it in there, seeing what it's going to do with my macro ratios and calories and everything else like that. And you're like, nope, not going to do that. Nope, not going to do that. Okay. Hey, I can do that. So it's been good. Shout out to Jonathan and Ann Montgomery with First in Nutrition for that support.
I should have hollered at you whenever you're in Seattle. There is, and I was just looking it up. Do you eat dumplings?
Yes.
Okay. There is a Michelin-rated dumpling restaurant in the mall by Pikes Peak in Seattle. And it's not only is it incredibly reasonably priced, but it is so good. And anytime we would go visit, like up in that area, for like my cousin or my sister who lived in Portland for a while.
Can you feel my frustration and anger right now?
Well, I didn't know you were there. I wasn't paying enough attention to your travel schedule.
I'm like getting ready to go back through our group text.
Well, you know what?
That's where I'm headed.
Here's what you need to know. It was too many calories, so you'd have been off the path. Even more so. I'm really looking forward to getting off the path next week. Tuesday will be day 76.
Yeah.
And I've pre-ordered my cinnamon rolls from my wife. Oh. And I got my ice cream.
How many days are you going to stay off the path? Because you're not going to be feeling very good Thursday morning at that early morning PT.
What makes you think I'm going to that? I got to take a couple of days off.
Uh-huh. All right, what questions do we have, man?
So the first one, I think this is
doing some recap of the recent.
Yeah, guest. But there's one thing that I think is really interesting, and we get asked kind of about these questions a lot. Is like what, and coming off the first in conversation, is like what our schedules and routines are. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, when we had Troy on the show, Troy was talking about like going through your mental processes and making sure that you're running your mental program and all of those kinds of things, like when you're getting ready to do something. Did you, as a U.S. Navy SEAL, did you guys have a routine? Because I think the idea is just from watching, war movies or documentaries like Navy SEALs starring Charlie Sheen and those types of things, that like there's something to the public opinion or perception that, before you guys go out on a mission, fortunate son gets blared on, on the things, or that, you guys are listening to Ride the Lightning on the helicopter right before y'all drop in. And I don't really think that it's that way, but like, did you have like routines, or were there processes and things that you did or ran before you went out on a mission?
I mean, there's a song I would play often, but it wasn't like, somebody asked Leif this question and he was talking about it. I believe it was on the Jocko podcast, and then he's talked about it before. And, his whole thing was like, man, I was so busy getting things ready for the mission. It wasn't like I was jamming out to Metallica. Right. But there were some guys that had the ability to listen to music while they're prepping their gear and everything else like that. And, I would listen to music when I was getting gear prepped and ready and everything else like that, if I had the ability to. And there's times that I didn't, because you're running around, you're rushing to grab stuff. But one of the songs that I loved listening to was Regulators.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, baby.
I mean,
bro, so good.
Yep.
So good.
Now, the thing I dislike about that song is when he says 16 in the clip and one in the hole, like, it's a magazine, not a clip.
Not a clip.
Well, he's wrong. And that has ruined people, because they'll be like, oh, put the clip. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
The clip does not go in the gun. Magazine goes in the gun.
Yeah. The clip.
Anyways.
The clip loads several cartridges into the gun.
Yes. Yeah. So, anyways, I would listen to Regulators. I really enjoyed that song. And there's a few other songs that I listened to as well. But yeah, there wasn't like a pre-mission routine. You're getting your stuff ready for a mission. Yeah. And now I guess technically there is a routine to that because you're getting this gear ready. You're getting the next set of, like you're going through this gear, this gear, this gear, this gear.
Like you've got SOPs.
Yeah, you're doing checks. You're checking the gear, self-check, buddy check, checking the vehicles, self-check, and then somebody else to check, So there's things put in place to make sure that you're properly ready. And the other one in Ramadi is we didn't go out without me saying a group prayer for the guys real quick. It didn't matter if it was like, hey, we had hours of planning the mission, days of planning the mission, or a 30-minute time sensitive like TST, like, hey, we got to roll. It was like, and then that might be a 15-second prayer.
Right.
Like, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to be here to make a difference. Please keep us safe. Surround us with your angels. Guide our footsteps and allow us to, to deliver justice. In Jesus' name, amen. Right. And that might be
in and out of there,
in and out, and the whole time I'm also praying while I'm on patrol and on missions and, leading up to it. But, no, I there wasn't like an actual, like, this is a routine that you do before you go out and conduct missions.
Well, I think that there's, you guys have, when you're serving.
We have a lot of flexibility, though, with what we do.
Well, you have a lot of flexibility with what you do, but you also have a lot of SOPs that we do not typically have in the civilian world.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't notice some of my routines. One, because I'm spontaneous and I don't have a routine. But I do, yes, I do. Yeah. Right? I get up, I make the same pre-workout, I go to the gym. If I wake up at 4:45 in the morning and do that, or if I wake up at 6:45, I'm doing the same thing whenever I wake up. That there's a trigger, there's a habit that, is triggered and you go through it. Yeah. So like your SOPs are routines to an extent, but not in the way that I think that like we think of them where, you look at Michael Phelps and he does all of his stretches and all those things. Y'all aren't doing those kind of things before mission. But I am curious. So when it comes to like running a mental program, particularly when you're taking like a sniper shot, are there things that you're thinking about? Like, are you thinking about, breath, body position?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, so
what's that like? Because that seems, or just like when you're instructing somebody to take a shot, we'll put it that way, right?
Well, I think it'd be the same. I'm just trying to think like to what it was officially. Like, it's a lot of the things I would just do.
Right. Well, yeah. So what was your process like?
I want to be comfortable behind the gun.
Right.
So I'm gonna put myself in a position where, for the most part, like, and that's what I want. Now, that's not what I always get to do.
Sure.
Because there's times you take uncomfortable shots, but meaning that you're not in a comfortable position.
Yeah.
So the goal is to get comfortable behind the gun so that you can stay behind there for a long time. Because the majority of what you're doing as a sniper is observing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're observing, you're scanning, so you need to be in a comfortable position. And then for me, I'd get into position. I'd make sure that I can comfortably be behind my gun, make sure that I can actually, in the position that I'm at, actually watch and scan and see the field of fire that I'm supposed to be doing. And if I'm not, then I have to be able to move, adjust, and or communicate to my team and my leadership, like, hey, this is a sector I can see. Like this, I can't see this, boom. And there would be times like making sure that we had overlapping field of view and stuff like that. So for me, it's getting comfortable behind my gun, seeing what I can see, getting my gear set up, if I can take, like, if I have, like H gear with that I can unbuckle and not be laying on, I'm going to put that in front of me because I don't want to be, I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to make things to where I can easily access my gear and like I have my rounds laid out, like, my gun is loaded with the maximum number of rounds that I can have. And then I have the extra ones that are there. And then I have another box that was there for like quick, adjustments and reloads. I'm going to laze the different distances with my laser rangefinder. And I'm just going to draw that out in front of me on a piece of paper that sits literally in front of me. They call it a range card. So I'm going to say, okay, from here to that corner, it's 300 yards. To the next corner, it's 375 yards. And to the next one, it's 525. So then I'm looking at these different distances. Then I now understand, like, okay, hey, if I put this if I put a 300-yard dope on, then that's point of aim and point of impact for that 300-yard, 325 distance. The 500, I'm going to have to hold high a little bit Because what I'm not going to do is be sitting there and going, oh, there's a bad guy. Let me dial up to 500. No, I'm going to know my holdovers and my hold unders. And so I would go through all those in my brain. If they come out here, here's a holdover. And then I would actually write those out on my range card.
Yeah.
And I would just study those. And while I'm looking at all those different, and that's literally what I would be doing the whole time in my brain while I'm looking, while I'm scanning. Hey, is this a bad person? And I would be holding on them.
Right.
And be like, okay, if they start doing something within the rules of engagement, here's my hold. Here's my hold over. Okay, here's where I'm at. I would zoom out, look at the wind, see if there's anything blowing or anything else like that, and then zoom back in. I would do a lot of zoom out and zoom ins to like look at the environment and look what's going on. And if as I'm dialing in on a person, knowing, hey, if I dial in and zoom in on this person, and I would communicate that to other guys in the team, because once I do that, I'm losing my field of fire. That I can actually see.
Yeah,
I'm losing my
sure.
situational awareness. And so it's just one of the things. So you don't
really
want to get
narrow.
soaked. I don't want to get sucked into like this little sector, thinking that and I'm observing this person while something happens 200 yards down.
Yeah.
And so these are just from lessons that we learn in training. And honestly, most of those were just talking through things on deployment and talking with other snipers, the soldiers and the Marines that were out there doing the same thing. And, hey, finding out that somebody was like watching somebody up close and they were doing that as a distraction so that somebody else could come around a different area, and so that would be my, I guess you'd say, routine. And then when I would take a shot, as soon as I pulled the trigger, I'm working the gun. As that trigger goes off, as soon as that happens, finger off, thumb comes up, rack the bolt, back, put a new round in, back on, and then I'm settling back into my gun to see.
Is there a pre-trigger pull routine that you did or process, like breathe out or any of that stuff?
That's ideal.
Yeah.
But the amount of times that I had the time to be like.
So are you telling me it's not like the movies?
I mean, now there is a time for that.
Yeah,
for
sure.
longer shots, and if I had more time, for sure, I'd be like, all right, cool. Because you're watching your crosshairs, and I'm making sure my gun is stable. But here's the deal: if you have a smooth trigger pull, it doesn't matter if it's slow or fast. It's the jerking. When you squeeze your hand, you're going to move the gun. That's why I hate when people are like smooth trigger squeeze. No. Do not squeeze the gun. It's a smooth trigger pull. If I'm focused on a smooth trigger pull, then I isolate this finger, nothing else in my hand moves.
Yeah.
And so that was my focus, was a smooth pull. I don't care if it's slow or fast. If it's a smooth pull, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
And so that's how I would train. And because I trained that way, whether it was like a pull, boom, right? And the gun surprise you, or a pull, boom, like makes no difference. Zero difference. Because I'm not jerking and pulling my gun around. So
yeah. You're not moving the weapon.
Nope.
Which is that's one of the things that so many people, especially whenever they fire handguns, we see that, like, when we've taken a few people out that have never like fired a handgun before. And so we'll take them and we have a dirty hairy gun, right? The 44 Magnum revolver. So much fun to shoot, right? But when people come in from out of town and they like, especially when I have friends that visit from other countries, and like, I really want to go like shoot a gun.
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll take that one out. We'll put a round in it. And they're like, oh, come on. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
You've never shot a handgun before. No, you want to shoot this one? Like, we'll do it towards the end of the day after they've gotten a little bit more comfortable shooting. And then that one time they're like, okay, this is different. And it never hits the paper. Even if they've been doing it fine with like the little,
because they're scared.
They're terrified of it. They're so scared of what it's going to do beforehand. And then after they shoot it once, then they're finally like, oh, it's really not that bad. It's like, no, but you were so intimidated by the weapon itself and the bulk of it and stuff that you just you got freaked out by.
I can look at a target and tell you if you're a right-handed or left-handed shooter and exactly what you're doing wrong without watching you shoot.
That's freaking impressive, man.
And then so
Pretty
like
cool.
so people have like, I'll like when people post like pictures of them shooting on Instagram, like, and if they're a friend or just somebody I like interact with, I'll send them a message and I'll say, would you like some unsolicited advice?
Of course.
I just, I'm trying to be polite, but I'm not trying to be like, hey, this is what, because some people are like, they're just out shooting, having fun.
Right.
Most people say exactly what you said. They're like, yeah, of course. I'll say, and then I ask them a question. I'm like, are you a right-handed shooter? And they're like, yep. I'm like, all right, cool. Hey, next time you go shooting, try this. And that's all I say. I'm like, just try this, focus on this, and send me a picture. And they'll send me a picture. If they did that properly, they'll send me a picture. And there's a drastic difference,
really?
like a drastic improvement.
That's cool.
And they're like, that was crazy. I did that at the shooting range. Leif and I were down testing out some of our Bruiser arms gear, and we're running some drills on the rifle and the pistols and everything else like that. And there's this guy that was just like all over paper.
Yeah.
On with his AR, and he was like, which you should not be all over paper on an AR in an indoor range, but whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's, hey, but if you haven't been taught properly. And I was like, hey man, can I give you some unsolicited advice? If not, you can tell me to screw off. And he's like, no, of course. And I said, hey, focus on these things. This is where you want to hold it. This is your holdover. These are the things, like, hey, get in a boxing stance, engage your core, roll forward, pull it back into your shoulder, isolate, boom, boom. Like, so we rolled through a few things. I mean, you went from all over the paper to he was at like, if you were to make your fist and put it like that, that's what his grouping became.
That's awesome.
And he was like, he came out, he said something, and it was just cool. So yeah, I know it kind of went down a different direction on that.
No, but like that's
but
a cool thing.
It does come back to what you're asking is when you're shooting, there are routines to put yourself in a good position, body, stance, grip, and it's when you violate those things, that's when you have a problem.
But it's not the routines like what we like it's portrayed in the movies. It's like all of you guys get together and listen to Metallica and then high five and go in different directions.
No,
I've not heard
in the ready room there might be blasting music because somebody's blasting music, but it's not like, hey Lucas, put on this, put on the Premission soundtrack.
Yeah.
But some guys do have that stuff.
But it seems like it's more of an individual thing if it did happen or that kind of deal. One of the things I really dug about the most recent mini documentary that Origin did about you was listening to Leif talk about how much fun it is to go shoot with you was pretty cool.
That was fun.
Yeah, where you guys, I don't know if it was the same time whenever you were down there with the Bruiser arm stuff. If that was the same instance, but he was just talking about how every time he goes down to shoot with you that there's always something new that he learns, and I'm like, that's pretty high praise coming from.
I think Leif is
from the leadership.
A little overly gracious with that, but I appreciate that. I love shooting with Leif and Jocko, but Leif and I, whenever we're on the range together,
is it a competition?
I think naturally we're going to compete with each other, but more so it's fun. But here's the thing that comes from that competition is, if I do something that's more efficient and effective than Leif, he's immediately going, hey, show me what you just did.
Yeah.
No ego. So the competition thing is a healthy thing.
Right.
You should be competing with yourself in life every single day. There should be healthy competition in your life. And this can apply to any aspect of your life. There should be healthy competition for you to grow and expand your capabilities, your skill sets, and, just the value that you provide. Like as a husband, you should want to be a better husband every day. You should want to be a better father every day.
Yeah.
You should want to be a better pastor every day. You should want to be a better friend every day. You should want to be a better podcast producer every day. Like the things that you do that are important, that you're good at, you should want to increase those things every single day. And so I think that comes from good, healthy competition. And in the SEAL teams, we competed all the time. Like Leif jokes and talks about this on Jocko's podcast and at the musters and at events that we've done together. And he talks about how everything's a race. I'm sorry, no, he says everything's a competition in the SEAL teams. If you go for a run, it becomes a race.
Yeah, if there's two SEALs running together, it's a race.
Yeah, 100%. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's why I picked a totally different loop for to honor those things. Because the last thing I need to be doing is racing a former Navy SEAL around the park.
What are you talking about? I'll just find the park you're going to. We'll go around there.
It's fine. It is one of those things that like there are things we don't think about in the civilian world, and I think peeling back, on the one hand, you don't want to reveal too much about like what actually goes on, because who knows who's listening to this or whatever. And on the other, that there are so many misconceptions about what you guys do that it kind of puts us in a weird spot, that like it's this strange position where, because of the curiosity around this very tight-knit, I won't say like, you guys aren't hyper secretive, but you are very protective of one another. You're very protective of the culture of the SEAL teams.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
And the brotherhood that's part of that, right? Like, so I know 100% that there is nothing that that I could like say to you personally. I say nothing. There are very few things I could say to you personally, like between you and I, that would offend you or bother you to the point where like we've got a serious problem. If it was just like me saying it to you or about you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if I were to say something about derogatory about Leif or Jocko
We'd
or
have
something,
problems.
yeah, we're 100% we're having issues.
We'd have problems.
Right? And even, you know, like it extends, because of that brotherhood, like it extends beyond like the immediate family. Like obviously I would never say anything derogatory about, you know, your wife or your kids, but also like those guys are under that same type of umbrella.
It's the same umbrella.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it's not often that as a civilian that we have those types of relationships because of that. So, but I think that adds this kind of mystique to the SEALs or special operations unit in general, because you guys there's that second kind of tier is like other soft guys that y'all are a little bit protective of them because you've been through similar trainings and those kinds of things, right? So any information that's out there about any of the special forces stuff, there are a group of I say us, so many civilians that we look at that, and the NCCs, we're like, all right, I got to listen to this one. I got to listen to that. This one's got something positive about the SEALs. I want to check this out. And this one's got, you know, kind of like, ooh, this is what the Navy SEALs did bad. And it's like, oh, I want to check this one out too, because now I want to know, like, who's got the real answers
Now
and all
I
this
really
like
wanna
mystery.
know.
Yeah, that's sort of involved in it. So it's enjoyable to get to have these types of conversations for me, because this is a thing, and we talked about this before. This isn't a part of this is something I'm never going to be able to be a part of, right? Like even the relationships that I get to build with you and the guys that we've brought on the show that have been, you know, fun to talk to and hang out with. Like this is a community that I am around but not a part of, and it's just cool to see how genuine you guys are, how well you operate together, how much of the stuff in the movies is hot garbage, but mixed with
Entertainment value.
Yeah, for sure. But also mixed with how much of the stuff from the books that Jocko and Leif have written, and you know the stuff that you guys talk about with the muster and what you do with the you know the Extreme Ownership Academy and all of that stuff, how genuine that really is as far as like the way that you guys deal with each other and stuff. And I think that's really cool. And one of the things that you're getting ready, I think it's getting ready to launch, is the Extreme Ownership Academy class on building a culture of extreme ownership.
The classroom?
Yeah.
People can sign up for that right now.
So here's what I want to ask, because I'm going to peel back the curtain on where I'm at, is I've passed out several copies of the book to our leadership.
Yep.
I'm talking with our interns. We're going through the book right now. We're going through extreme ownership right now. And one of the things that we're talking about is like, how do we create a culture of extreme ownership within our church? And how do they do it like in their homes? Because one of the things that I asked I asked our college boys who are doing it. I was like, so what do you think? They're like, well, give them the book. And I'm like, okay, so they have the book. They've had the book for a year.
Yeah.
Not only have they had the book for a year, they're giving me feedback on how well the principles from the book are working in their marriage and in their workplace, but they're not applying it to this one place where they actually received the book, right? So how do we create, how do you work to create a culture of extreme ownership within the organizations that we work in and we live in?
Yeah, I think the fact that you've given them the books, they've read the books, they're applying it at home and marriage and all these other things are great. I think it's just a simple reminder from the leadership of the organization that wants them to be more focused at work. And then so what you do is you have weekly discussions about it. Okay, hey, when you guys read Extreme Ownership, in chapter 1, these were the main takeaways. Like, hey, how can we do a better job implementing them here at work? Where are they being implemented well, and where can we improve it? And I think it just needs to be a steady conversation. Every time that you're meeting with this group, it needs to come up in the conversations. Okay, hey, here at church, here at work, wherever it is. So if you are trying to get these things ingrained deeper into your organization, there has to be specific conversations around the organization. So the fact that the principles have been absorbed and now they're being implemented, that's a great thing. It's just now it's like, hey, we need to have more specific conversations of, hey, this is what we need to be doing here at the church. Here's why it's important that we make these shifts. How do you guys want to start implementing it into the organization here?
Yeah.
And then you let them come up and create plans. And then you have to make sure people have ownership over it. Not just like, okay, hey, yeah, they said ownership, but like, who's going to own the tasks?
Right.
Hey, you guys are saying these 6 things need to happen. Okay, who's going to take these 2? All right, Matt, you're taking these 2. Steven, you're taking these 2. Isaac, you're taking these 2.
Right.
And so that's what you need to be very specific with, designating ownership over doing the task and implementing those things. Because a problem a lot of organizations have is they'll have meetings and they'll talk about the things that need to be done, but yet they don't assign ownership to who's going to actually move forward with it.
Yeah.
Now, for the most part, some organizations, people will naturally take lead on that stuff, but that's not a sure thing. I mean, you really want to make sure that these things get done. Say, all right, hey, Lucas, so if I was trying to have you implement some of the principles that we're talking about into a business that you and I had, and we're talking through it, I was like, all right, hey, so moving forward this week, Lucas, these are the 2 things that you're going to be focused on, correct? And you're like, yep. I'm like, cool. Hey, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Brief back to me what you're going to be focused on this week and how you're going to be doing it so that I can make sure I'm ready to support you.
Yeah.
When are you going to follow up with me? Are you going to give me a daily update? Is it every other day, or is it upon completion?
It's a good call.
And so now I'm putting some timelines in place that you agree to. And then I say, okay, cool. Hey,
I'm setting the timeline for when I'm going to get back with you.
And hey, Lucas, I just want to make sure we're good with this. You're going to give me daily updates. So if I don't hear from you by 4 p.m., are you good with me reaching out to you to get a status update? And you're like, yep. I'm like, all right, cool. Hey, I'll hear from you tomorrow. If I don't hear from you by 4, I'm going to give you a call and just kind of see where we're at.
Yeah.
So now you know what you need to be doing. You briefed it to me. I'm good with your plan. We have alignment, and now there's an actual timeline that we agreed upon. Cool.
Yeah, and then as the boss, the big thing is actually following up when you say you're going to follow up.
Yes, that's a big thing. Yeah. But now think of that from...
That's the part that I suck at the most. I did that this week. I even put it in my calendar on my phone, like call this person at, between 12:30 and 2 on Monday. And I didn't call him, and I didn't find out I didn't call him until Tuesday when somebody else called him for something. They're like, oh, I guess we both forgot. I was like, it was in my calendar, and I didn't put to set an alert. I had everything else filled out except for set the alert, which is the only reason I put it in my calendar.
Yeah.
But I wasn't paying enough attention to the details. So.
Yeah. So, I mean,
so I failed.
That happens when you have a lot of things going on,
Or when you just suck at stuff.
Well, you have a lot of things going on. That's why you're having these issues, that we all have.
Right.
I mean, these are things that we all deal with. And so with that, one of the things that I've been doing is okay, hey, if I have something in my calendar that I need to do at a certain time that I know I'm not going to be in front of my computers, updating my calendar, checking things out, I'll put an actual alarm on my phone.
Yeah.
It'll say work call. And it'll be set.
That's what I should have done.
No, and that's, the other thing
Instead,
is
I sucked.
You can put, the notes in your phone and you can set alerts and details on it to where
the reminders,
hey,
and all
when
that stuff.
Yeah, when you arrive at home or you're leaving at home or you connect to Apple CarPlay or you connect to Wi-Fi at work or something like that, it'll pop up as a little reminder. Now, you have to have it to where those reminders fully notify you, not just show up on like a little red dot on your thing. So you actually have to, make sure that those things are apparent. But the thing that I do is I'll set the actual alarm. Sorry. I'll actually set an alarm on my phone. So I'll review it the day before. Okay, cool. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, I need to call Lucas.
Yeah.
At 4 o'clock, at 3:55, my alarm will go off saying work call.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the things I like about the Garmin watches is that whenever they give you the morning update, as you scroll through, it'll show you all the things that are on your docket. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. I also like that you can set like the alarms on your phone. On your watch, where they can either you can actually hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear it and feel it vibrate or just vibrate.
Yeah.
And so I'll set those things where if I'm on a Zoom call and I know after that Zoom call I have to go do something else, it'll just vibrate. It'll just give you on my wrist. Yep. And if you hit the reminder 10 minutes later, it's gonna do it. So I set two alarms 5 minutes apart from each other. So every 5 minutes is like to keep me on pace for time frames as well.
Yeah, to know what you're doing. Yeah. So with what we get from you, Mr. Dinnell, is we get a lot of like the understanding of the principles. We get a lot of good stories and stuff on this podcast. One of the things that I'm asked about, and tongue in cheek, we've talked about your book that you may or may not be writing or will ever write, right? But when it comes to like,
don't allude to people that I'm writing a book right now when I'm not. The way you said it seems as if I'm writing a book right now. I'm trying to allude.
I say you may or may not. Right now, it's all the time not. I'll be clear about that. You're currently not writing a book. Okay. I might be ghost writing a book to hand to you in a few months that you can just put your name on. But yeah, we'll see. But with the principles in extreme ownership, particularly the laws of combat, but the overarching principle. We know Jocko and Leif's stories that are associated with that. And one of the things that I've been curious about and that a few people have asked me about is like, all right, so what's JP's extreme ownership story from Ramadi? Like, where was the, is it a blue on blue? Is it the situation? What's the standout moment for him of when he really got the concept of extreme ownership in Ramadi?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a story I always think about in regards to it being my fault and my leadership actually taking ownership over my mistake and me recognizing what was happening. Oh, no. And it wasn't even Seth or Jocko. It was Colonel Clark. So it was the Army.
Really?
It was an Army, yeah. So I got investigated for a shot that I took. And the reason why I'll give Cliff's Notes version, because we can dive deeper into this another time. Like this would be like a long story, episode to pull from. But to quickly answer your question, I was getting investigated for a shot that I took. And the reason why I got investigated is because the shooter statement that I filled out had the bare minimum in there. Because we had no training on filling out shooter statements.
Oh, wow. And
we would just fill them out based off of like rough guidelines that we had. And, you got to look at it from the JAG's perspective is they're getting these shooter statements.
The JAG is the military attorneys.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so they're reviewing these shooter statements that are coming through. And now all of a sudden our task unit is filling out a lot of shooter statements. And they're coming through and they're not lacking. I'm sorry. No, they're definitely lacking information. But they're not lacking the info that we thought was needed. It was like, yeah, I killed an enemy fighter that was doing this. And it was very basic descriptions. And so I ended up getting investigated. And instead of them sending me to the large base where they wanted me to go for the investigation, my leadership's like, no, if you're going to investigate them, you can go out to Camp Corregidor. And so they had to get on a convoy. They took a convoy out to camp from the large base out to Camp Corregidor, which was a forward operating base that we operated out of. While we were there, I know the base definitely got attacked. I'm pretty sure like the shower tents weren't working. The chow hall was down. So they like recognized, they're like, oh, these guys are living rough.
Yeah, they don't have a Subway and a Starbucks on their base.
Yeah, no, they don't even have a chow hall that's operating right now. And our chow hall was not like considered even close to like what the nice DFAC was on there.
Right.
You know, and have a nice big gym to go to that was climate controlled, and you know, the buildings that we were all living in were all blown out buildings that we had to build up and construct with sandbags and put plywood down so we're not on the dirt floors, and
right.
you know, so it was rough living. It was awesome. I loved it.
Right.
It definitely kept you in the right proper mindset for what you were doing. You didn't get comfortable and complacent living at Camp Corregidor. And, you know, the building I lived in was full metal jacket.
Oh, that's sweet.
And, yeah, it was pretty awesome. The soldiers and Marines that lived in there with us. I remember one time I was like, dude, this is awesome. You talk about like things similar to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember sitting in the little middle courtyard area and we're all shaving. And it's like crazy that they're making us shave while we're out there. And we don't have any running water. And guys, we're literally using like canteen cups and bottles of water. Oof. And mirrors, like little pieces of like mirror that we had.
Like broken pieces of mirror.
Yeah.
Wow.
Till we're just sitting there shaving. I thought that was the coolest thing ever, bro. Like sitting around with a bunch of soldiers and Marines, like we're all like, you know, shaving cream. We're all like looking in the mirror, like just shaving. And you're like, this is kind of cool. But anyway, so that was what it was like in at Camp Corregidor. And so I get investigated for a shot that I took, and it was a good shot. There was nothing wrong with the shot. I was just lacking information, and I had a good amount of shooter statements that I had submitted. And so, you know, so the investigation is going on, and you know, Colonel Clark steps in and was like, "All right," he just shut it down.
Really? Yeah,
he shut down the investigation. He's like, he called me. He called us his Army frogmen. And he said, he's like, my Army frogmen are keeping my soldiers and Marines safe. His shot was well within the rules of engagement. It was a good shot. I didn't know this, but it went on. Jocko told me that later. Colonel Clark went on to say it was one of the best shots that he had heard of because there was no collateral damage. I took a shot out on a driver that had people in the car with them, and I just took out the driver.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah, and so... and he said that we were extremely professional because instead of opening up full auto into that vehicle, which we could have within the SOPs,
right?
We didn't, and we would have killed all the other innocent people in that car. The guy was using, he had his family in the car and he was using them as a sacrifice.
Good grief!
Knowing that if he did this, he would. You know, we would engage and then we would engage the vehicle.
Yeah.
And we didn't. Mikey, Seth put a warning shot into the hood of the car. He sped up. As he was telling me JP engage, like as he was saying JP, I pulled, you know, I already knew the SOPs. Mm-hmm. Headshot on the driver through the windshield, take him out. And Seth just put his hands on Mikey's shoulder to stop him. But Mikey he knew he didn't need to shoot. And so we didn't shoot. There's no collateral damage.
Mikey was a machine gunner?
He was a machine gunner. Yeah, he was my security machine gunner, always with me on patrols and next to me for the most part when we set up the sniper overwatches. It was him or a few other guys that would rotate and switch out spots, but all phenomenal guys. And so anyways, so that's what I get investigated for. And he steps in, stops it because it was starting to get a little ridiculous. Yeah. And he was like, no, he did nothing wrong. He goes, we will do a better job filling out our shooter statements. I'm sorry these weren't filled out. That's on me. Because they ran through them. He took ownership over my mistake.
Wow.
And then Seth and him afterwards were talking. Seth's like, hey, Colonel, that's on me. And he's like, no, I see these things. They go through. He goes, you guys are submitting a lot of them. I like, you know, and this is their casual conversation after he made the lawyers leave.
Right.
And it was I just remember sitting there just so embarrassed that I had put him in this position because I wasn't filling out the proper shooter statements. And I just remember him looking at me and just smiling. He's like, hey, Frogman, can we do a better job filling out those shooter statements? They need a little more information. I was like, yes, sir. No problem. And we changed the way we started filling out our shooter statements. And the cool thing about that too is Seth was taking ownership. Him and the Colonel were going back and forth. The Colonel was you know, playing rock, paper, rink on Seth. He's like, hey, no, this is on me. But when we went back, Seth was like, hey, guys. And then we just knew that we had to start filling out better shooter statements, which that's what we needed to do. Because if you look at it from their perspective, they're reading a statement about why we killed another human being.
Right.
Why did you kill this person? You should have a lot of good information on there to make it very clear. And so then we just changed it up.
Justified taking a life.
Yeah, absolutely. We would just change it up. Hey, I observed an enemy male, a military aged male through this type of scope with this magnification power. They were wearing, these clothes. This is what they were doing. This was within the rules of engagement at this point. You know what I mean? And so then you just start painting a much clearer picture to show that we were observing, we were watching, and we were making sure that things were done the right, proper way.
Yeah.
We didn't take a shot that we didn't need to take. There's actually shots that I should have taken that I didn't take, that I wish I would have, but it was on the line, and it just was like, man, I'm not running that risk. There's a lot of shots that I should have taken that I didn't. And that sucks. It's something I'll think about till the day I die. But I can tell you that I never took a shot that I shouldn't have taken. Yeah. And that's something I don't deal with that at all. Like, there's not one human being that I've killed that didn't need to die. And I can say that and know that to be factual. I have no issues with that.
Yeah.
The issues I have is the guys that I didn't shoot that I should have, because it was close enough to that fuzzy area that I didn't want to put my leadership in that type of position, you know. And then that's the other thing, and that's part of growth, and those were at the beginning of the deployment. Towards the end, there wasn't a lot of that, because you know more, and you grow, and your mindset shifts, and you're educated, and you evolve, and you adapt, and you grow as an individual, you grow as a sniper, you grow as a leader, you grow as a SEAL, and that time is what allowed and facilitated that growth.
Yeah, there's a lot of that I. As I'm absorbing all the information, obviously there's a lot of that stuff that's applicable, but like seeing that ownership come from your leadership and from, you don't know what you don't know. And especially when it comes to those kinds of things. And I think working with, the police department, the meticulous nature of the police reports that go into a traffic stop is insane. But then when I think a lot of us, when we think about war, I'll stop using the royal pronouns, right? When I think about war, right, the things that I think about are the things that I've read or the things that I've seen cinematically. Right now, I'm working my way through Audie Murphy's book To Helen Back.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
yeah.
So in this thing I read this morning while I was warming up on the bike at the gym, he's following in a rear guard for two officers that are part of Patton's Third Army. They've got 4 guys that are protecting them. They're going up to this area, and he just follows along, and he's like, I'm going to play rear guard because I don't know that all these guys from the rear echelon actually know what they're about to get themselves into. And they didn't. Oh. They went up a hill. They're getting close to the Rhine, and a German gun opens up on them, and it kills one of the 4 guys that's there to protect him. 2 of the other guys get wounded. The officers end up in a hole, and there are 8 German soldiers that Murphy can see. And so he throws a grenade. He shoots 2, throws a grenade, wounds 3, ends up shooting the guy that was on the machine gun, takes him out. And then there was another guy that was going down the hill, and he was he was a fat guy, and he was, none of his clothes fit, and it's I'm not going to shoot this guy. It'd be like shooting a clown. And the guy turns around and looks at him. And when the guy turns around and looks at him, he's got his gun ready. And he's like, but you know what? The clown's got a weapon. He's got arms. And so he's like, so I did what I had to do. Yeah. Well, he's not filling out a report for all 8 of those guys, even though this is something he's telling us from memory that happened, right? He's not having to fill that out for all 8 of those guys. When you look at the guys that were in World War II, they're not doing that. The guys in the Korean War and in the Vietnam War, they're not doing that because they're facing these massive fronts. Yeah. But the nature of the war on terror was so... not individualized, but it's so micro in compared to these armies of thousands and thousands of guys. It's platoons and it's squads that are going after each other. And so what y'all had to do in identifying, was a person a legitimate threat and all that is so much different than any kind of warfare that we fought before. Yeah. Because it's not here come the guys in the gray in the gray outfits,
Yeah,
right?
no.
It's not, oh, look, here's a bunch of us that just 1776, and it's a bunch of farmers. And we're like, hey, who's the bad guys? Like all the guys in the red suits. Like shoot the guys in the red suits.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, right? It's
to be very clear, like,
Right.
hey, they're wearing a uniform.
But,
Hey, if they're wearing this uniform, cleared hot.
yeah. Like,
Good Lord.
that
would be like a sniper's dream.
right, and it's
Any
crazy.
soldier's dream.
Yeah, like it's crazy because it eliminates all of that. Why did you shoot that guy? He had a swastika on his chest. Oh yeah, good enough for me, right? Like okay, cool. And then you just go on down the line. But the type of war that you guys fought was so different because the guys that you're fighting against were wearing, their uniform was the same as the guy who's, just trying to sell fruit in the market.
Their goal is to blend in with the populace.
Yeah. Dude, it's bizarre to think about because like the shooter report that you're having to fill out, like there was no shooter report until the last 20 years.
No.
That looks like what you guys had to do. So
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me in that sense of what I'm learning about it, that 22-year-old JP didn't realize that like, hey, this form that no SEAL has ever had to fill out before.
They probably did before, but you got to think about like, I had never had to fill one out.
Right.
And we didn't fill them out in training. And that's part of the things that we teach at Echelon Front is administrative type of stress.
Bro, it's insane.
You should add that to a training cycle.
I hate it.
Yeah, but that's a very real thing. Yeah. And, so one of the things I also wanted to add on to, I know we're getting ready to wrap this up. We'll have a shorter episode this Friday for y'all.
So we got Muster 020 coming up.
Yes, we do.
You got stuff to do. I got faces to shave. I got one face to shave.
I was like, how many faces are you shaving? Weird.
That's mine. I got a fat face.
The other thing that I want people to think about and take into consideration as they're listening to this, these are just my perspectives. So there might be units out there that have routines, and that's awesome. I like routines. I like, I know buddies that do jiu-jitsu that compete. They have their pre-match routine that they go through every single time. And I think that's awesome. And so I just also like this whole like, hey, don't take what I'm saying as, oh, they don't do that anywhere. This is just from what I've experienced.
Right.
And so and it's also, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is it's a good reminder when you're absorbing information, it's people's perspectives.
Yeah.
It's their perspective on what they've done, what they've seen, what they've experienced. So just something to think about. And we have SOPs at Echelon Front for everything that we do, especially the FTXs.
Oh, no doubt.
And so if you were to come just observe the guys getting ready for an FTX in the morning, you'd be like, oh, they have a routine.
Yeah.
And they do. Hey,
Everybody gets up and give Josh one kick in the butt.
You wake up. X amount, hey, if we're leaving at 4:45, everyone's down in the lobby at 4:40 loading gear. Gear is loaded by 4:40, rolling out at 4:45. We stop at the gas station. We have a 15-minute window at the gas station for guys to, grab food, drinks, snacks, ice for the day. Like we're rolling, we get to the location by a certain time frame. Everyone's unloading different gear in different boxes. Like, you're setting up this. I know I'm setting up this. You're setting up this. You're setting up this, right? We put all the vests out. We put all the taggers out. We put all the workbooks out. We put all the notebooks out. We put all the pencils out. We put all the patches out. We put all those things out. They're organized based off of their fire teams. Okay, and then they're turning on all the taggers, testing them all out, resyncing them. Like, there's a routine to setting up all the stuff for the FTX. All right. Hey, while all those guys are doing this, who's loading the coolers with water? Who's loading with the goes? Who's loading with the hydrates? All right. Now they're loaded, putting the ice on top. All right. Where do we staging the extra bags of ice? Like there are routines to all these things, and we're able to do those routines because of the checklists and the SOPs that we've created.
Yeah.
And by doing those SOPs, those checklists, the routines, it allows us to duplicate and replicate what we do. So if you come in to help on an FTX and you've never been a role player before, and you get this list and you're saying, hey, these are the things that you need to go do right now. Cool. You can go do those. And if you have questions, you can ask any of the guys that have been at more than one, and they can help you out. So there is obviously a very positive benefit from having routines and SOPs, but to your question, it wasn't like what the movies portray it.
For sure.
So, and I just wanted to remind people, my perspective, what I did doesn't mean that it was good or bad, and it doesn't reflect any of the other units out there.
I think your perspective is good.
Well, cool.
Well, I appreciate it, and two, over the time that we've gotten to know each other, right? Like you tend to, and I think this is something that I've seen in all of the Echelon Front team, is you guys tend to be more on the humble side of like what you actually did and what it actually meant. There are a lot of people, and we've talked about it before, that have done nothing that try to make their stories seem like they're absolutely incredible. And there are a lot of folks who didn't make it home who did incredible things. Yeah. And then there are a handful who went out and did what was asked of them. And I'm making sure that I'm using all this language properly so I don't get shouted down for some reason. You guys did what was asked of you and did it with honor. And as you've come home, I won't say that you've downplayed it, but you approach it with a lot of humility. And so I think more than anything that gives you a reliability and a trust with, obviously with me, but I think also just kind of across the board with the people that listen to you guys and that pay attention to it, because we know there's more to the story than what you're telling us, but that's also why we trust that what you're telling us is important. What you're telling us is necessary in order to communicate whatever the point of the story was. You're not telling it because, there I was up to my armpits in grenade pens or whatever, but also that there's a trust that you've built with the people who listen to this podcast that is the same. Like, we know, like if it's a story that you're telling, that there is a reason that you're telling it, because there's a lesson to be learned, not a moral to the story, but there's a lesson to be learned. There's a takeaway from it that is going to make the next day of my life more valuable, because I have the opportunity to show the same type of integrity and character that you guys did. And I think it's pretty cool.
I hope so. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What do we got going on December 3rd, Lucas?
December 3rd, we are going to be at Texas Health Presby in downtown Dallas, doing a one-day Echelon Front leadership training. It is T-Cole certified, just like our one that we did back in June, but it's open to anybody that wants to participate. If you've got a company, you guys want to be there, JP is leading a full one-day workshop, which I'm super stoked about, and we're getting to partner with the Texas Health Presby organization, which is pretty neat awesome, because they're massive. Yeah, and they've got some interesting stuff, man. So as I've been working with them to try to get this on the schedule, they've got a sworn police force, and they have a security team that have to work together, because the police officers have a limited jurisdiction and the security team have a limited jurisdiction. One of them gets to work based off of hospital policies, and the other one has to work based off of enforcement of the laws of the state of Texas and the city of Dallas.
So there's got to be some overlap.
There's a ton of
that's awesome.
There's a ton of overlap, but they have to be so strategic in the areas where they don't overlap, like what we're talking about, like getting information. Right? A police officer, if somebody comes in, can't do a search and seizure of a patient's room if they're violating hospital codes of conduct, because, well, they don't have probable cause, they don't have a warrant, they don't have any of these kind of things. Well, the security team may be able to, but now they've got a certain amount of paperwork that they have to do. They've got their own procedures, and they've got to make sure that whatever information they get is going to be useful to the police if they find, something that shouldn't be there. It's crazy how these hospitals have to work these teams together. So I'm really excited to get to partner with them, and they're stoked about bringing you out for that workshop.
That's going to be awesome. Yeah. So, all right. Well, as always, we want to thank you guys for the support you guys give us by listening, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube. You can be notified when our YouTube exclusive episodes come out.
Yep.
And thank you for all the comments, all the engagement that you guys have on social media, and then also on YouTube. It's been awesome. You want to follow us on social media? I am at JP Dinnell. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard. LuCaspinkard. Also, make sure you're following Echelon Front. Go to echelonfront.com to check out what we have going on. You can go to echelonfront.com, click on events, see all the future events that we have going on. You can also check out the To Honor Those run coming up. That is a virtual run, not a race. It's a run that you get to do to support first responders being able to come to Echelon Front trainings that can't afford it. Look forward to seeing you guys at a future event. I know we have the muster coming up next week. We also have a small amount of spots left for FTX 15. That's going to be here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's a 2-day individual FTX. So you can come as an individual. You can bring a small group. If you have any questions.
When is that?
That is November 4th and 5th. Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, November 4th and 5th.
It's the day after my birthday. I might need to come. That might need to be my birthday present. Come watch an FTX.
Let's go. That'd be awesome. Also, check out Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. It's a ministry that I'm a part of on Instagram. We are at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu _USA. Go to our website, JesusandJujitsuUSA.com, to check out the merch and events that we have going on. We have a podcast that comes out every Tuesday, doing different events about every 4 to 6 weeks. Also, discipleship things that offset it about every 4 to 6 weeks as well. I know November 16th, we're going to be down in Dripping Springs.
We are
at Stoic Jiu-Jitsu doing a free Jiu-Jitsu seminar. Someone's going to share their testimony, and then we open it up for open mat training.
Dude, do we want to tell everybody who our seminar instructor is for that?
Tim Kennedy.
I just heard of him.
Yeah, Tim Kennedy. It's going to be awesome.
Did you see he's doing a promotion for a movie he was in where he's the bad guy in the movie.
Yeah.
And they put makeup on him like to where I think he said that he's like pushing 500 pounds with the suit that they put on him.
Pretty awesome.
It's hysterical looking seeing him in the makeup. So reminds me, it's if you want to see the Nutty Professor version of Tim Kennedy, whatever the name of that movie is, it's coming out. It's got some other funny guys that are in it too. So yeah, that'll be cool.
Also a partner of a Texas beef company called Little Cattle.
Get that beef.
Yeah, dog. Our website is littlecattle.co. We can deliver anywhere in the lower 48. We are a custom order beef company that allows you to order exactly what you want each time based off the needs of your family and or friends. We also have a ground beef subscription. I know that you were on that.
Oh, yeah.
We also
20
launched...
pounds a month.
Yeah, man. Let's go.
Paying a little extra to get that Apex Predator blend.
Do you like it? Have you tried it yet?
Yes. It's so good. You can't... Okay, so the flavor is just a tad different because it's 80% of the normal beef blend and then 20% of the high-quality beef organs. So you got a heart, you got liver,
and kidney
that are all in there, which are just packed full of necessary...
nutrients, yes.
Yeah, so I'm not to the point where... Like, I'm fine with it. Kirsten's a really picky eater.
Yeah.
Levi will eat whatever I eat.
Yeah.
Scotty's got no teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we're at family-wise.
Yeah.
Levi has tried it. And the first couple of bites he was in, and then he got one and he was like, what's that? So I was like, oh, maybe he's tasting the liver or whatever. Nope. Sauce. This kid, if sauce gets on anything, like he doesn't, like he wants to dip it in sauce. So you give him spaghetti, you got to put the red sauce on the side. He's got to dip the noodle in the sauce and then take it. A little bit of ketchup got on the stuff. So even the 2-year-old couldn't actually tell the difference with the beef. It was so good and so nutritious.
I did. Cool. I mixed it with rice the other day, and then I just added Taco Bell mild sauce to it.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude,
what's that good green chili stuff that Amanda gets that green chili rice that's bomb.
Yeah, it's
it
awesome.
Is busted.
So we have that as well. We have the beef tallow products, the body butter, tallow cream, lip balm. Also, we have our beef sticks. And actually, James's gym, Patriot Strength, just got signed up as our first wholesaler for the beef sticks. Yeah.
Nice.
So if you want to be a wholesaler for the beef sticks and or the beef tallow products, send an email to amanda@littlecattle.co. Also, as the holidays come up, I know we have one of my customers at our clients at Echelon Front is sending 40 custom boxes to his customers this year from Little Cattle Co.
You're going to have to slaughter an extra cow.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's good that they reached out to us ahead of time so we can actually do that. So if you want to send any of your customers, clients, friends, family members like a custom box for the holidays coming up, let us know. We'll add in custom notes and letters to it.
Way better than a honey ham. Get that tomahawk steak instead of sending somebody the spiral cut ham.
Yeah. Hey, Lance, you're on notification because if you order all of my Terrace Majors again,
Lance,
we're going to have a problem. I'll fly out to wherever you're living or staying or hiding, and there's going to be problems. Yeah, he made an order recently.
That's it. I really like Lance. I like Lance because I can look Lance in the eye.
Yeah, but he took the last 10 Terrace Majors.
I endorse Lance.
Okay, I'm also a partner with. I'm really. What?
You're just upset because you lost the race to the Terrace Major and Lance won it.
I'll just take them off the website moving forward. So
that's your prerogative.
Hey, good job, Lucas.
You're welcome.
You did this for Lance.
I'll sneak one for you, Lance.
That's his fault.
I'll give it to you, Lance.
I'm also a partner with a printing company called On the Path Printing. Instagram, hit us up on Instagram. It's at On the Path Printing. Send us a message. Figure out what you want and need. Also a partner with Jocko Fuel with a company called Bruiser Arms. Check us out on Instagram. We are at Bruiser Arms. Have some different gear that you guys can acquire and also training classes coming out. Also check out OriginUSA.com, JockoFuel.com to check out all the incredible products. Origin USA has the best 100% American-made gear. Just everything, the boots, the pants, the belts, the wallets, the t-shirts, the hoodies, the jiu-jitsu gis, the rash guards.
The new cotton flannels.
The new cotton flannels out.
Super stoked about that.
Did you see the new boots that they just launched also?
The Mokto? Or is there another one since the Mokto?
No, there's a new one since the Mokto.
No, I haven't seen that.
That Mokto boot is incredible.
Yeah.
Also for JockoFuel.com to check out those clean supplements and energy drinks. As we wrap this up, I just want to thank all of you guys for listening, and I just want to encourage you to go out there and find something that you can improve your skill set upon. That's the big thing about, that complacency creeping in is we think that we're good where we're at, but we should always be challenging ourselves. We should always be striving to learn a new skill set, to read a new book, to build a new friendship, a new relationship, work on making yourself a better human and leading, because here's the deal. Leadership is the solution to any problem that you have going on. And if you're not leading yourself, you're not going to be able to lead the people around you. So I hope this episode has been a reminder to go out there and do the work and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 55.